Welcome back to Ardolino's Kitchen, where we are cooking with my wife.
We're cooking healthy today.
Yes, and today we are making stuffed peppers. Now, my Aunt Jackie actually suggested this as a recipe that we should make, so big shout out to her. And one of the recipes that we recently tried that we really liked was peppers stuffed with lasagna.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is not your traditional stuffed pepper recipe with
meat,
ground beef
rice,
and
and
rice.
yeah.
This is a healthier take, and for those of you who really love lasagna, it's just absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
So.
Now, the one thing we're going to do, and I'll show you how we're going to make these, we're actually going to leave the pasta part out. So, but we're still going to have the cheese and the meat and the peppers. This is going to be great. All right, so we already cleaned out these peppers. The first step what we want to do is we want to roast the peppers. Now, my two biggest gripes with stuffed peppers are one, I don't like green peppers. I much rather have a red pepper. They're sweeter. My other big gripe with it is that most of the time people never season the pepper itself. And have you ever eaten a stuffed pepper and the inside stuffing is delicious and then the outside pepper is, it's okay, right? So what I like to do is we'll take the peppers, we're going to season them with some olive oil and salt, and then we're going to roast them in the oven for about a half hour. That will allow them to soften up a little bit, and it'll give them lots of great flavor. So we already cleaned these out. Let's clean one of these out. We'll just show you how we do this. Yep. So just cut the top off, really simple. Obviously clean the outside of the pepper first. And then I just take my knife and I just go around the inside of the pepper, walking around the pepper and the pith, that's the white part, right? So I'm just gonna cut that around in a circle until I get the whole thing cut, and then I can pull the center part out with all the seeds. Now, another gripe that I have is I don't like the pith. It's very bitter. So what I like to do is take a spoon and just scrape the pith out of the pepper. That also gives you more room for stuffing, which is great, right? So I like to take that part out. So we're just going to scrape that out. So just all four sides. Okay. And if there's a bunch on the bottom, you could scrape that out too. Just make sure you don't put a hole in the pepper. And then that's it. Now I have a nice clean pepper. Oops, it looks like I got a seed in there. I can just rinse that out. And now we can stuff them. But we're going to season them and roast them before we do that. Okay, so normally I would do this over the sink, but this is just easier to show over a bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some olive oil, and I'm going to put a bunch along the outside. And then once I have some on the outside, I can just use my hand, just spin that in my hand to get the olive oil completely coated around the pepper. And then what I'm going to do, and I want to get it on the inside of the pepper too, and then I'm just going to take some salt, and I'm just going to season the outside and, oops, the olive is slippery, and the inside of the pepper. Okay, and then we're just going to put those on a tray, and we'll do this for the rest of these. And now I already have oil on my hand, and I intentionally did not clean it or touch it with my other hand so that I can easily just put that on the other pepper. And then again, season the outside, season the inside, and then we'll do that. All right, so we're going to do that with the other two peppers. We're going to throw them in the oven for around 350 for a half hour. That will soften them up a little bit, and then we'll take them out, stuff them, and then bake them. Okay. All right, so while we are waiting for our peppers to roast, we're going to prepare our stuffing. Two parts to that. I have marinara sauce that I made. This is a recipe from our other video. I also have ricotta cheese that I made from our other video, so using a lot of different things. And then for the meat and the stuffing, we're going to use grass-fed ground beef and then fresh Italian sausage from our grocer. So we're gonna, I have a pound of each. I'm gonna only use a half a pound of each one, and then we'll save the other half pound for the next time we make stuffed peppers. Okay, so this we're just gonna separate out, and then we're gonna take this over to the stove. We're gonna saute this with some onions and then brown that up. All right, so we have our pan over like a medium-high heat. We'll add, once it's hot, add some olive oil. and get that oil hot, and then we'll add our onions. Okay, so we'll swirl that oil around in the pot, and then we'll throw in our onions. So you get a nice sizzle that makes sure the pan is hot enough. And then we're just gonna saute these until these are somewhat translucent, right? So this will take about maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And then once that's done, then we'll add our beef and sausage. Okay, so our onions have cooked down a little bit. If you can see, they're somewhat translucent. So now we're ready to add our beef. So we'll start off with half of our beef, and then half of our Italian sausage. Okay, all right. What I like to do is just take this and just using a spatula, just break up the meat into smaller pieces. And then as it cooks, you can then continue to break it down into nice little pieces and chunks. Okay. All right, and we'll continue to do that. We'll also season with some pepper, okay, and some salt. Okay. All right. And then continue to do this until all the meat has just browned through. All right, so this is browned up. I'm just going to taste this just to make sure. Yeah, I think that's good. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit more salt and pepper to whatever you taste, but make sure you taste it. If you don't season it right when you put it in, it's not going to taste right when you... Okay, that's good. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add a cup of the marinara sauce. Just stir that in and warm that through. At this point, we could probably turn the heat off. Okay. Mix that in. Then we'll add in 1 more cup. Mix that in, and that will become the basis for our filling, at least for the meat portion. Okay, that looks good. All right, so our meat mixture is done for our peppers.
Tastes delicious.
Yeah, did you try it?
I did.
Okay, and then now we're going to make the mixture for the ricotta, right? Oh, so we have 2 different types of cheeses. Okay. We have our ricotta cheese, which we're going to mix with a little egg and Parmesan. That'll help the cheese stay together and bind when it cooks inside the pepper, so we get a nice layer of ricotta cheese. And then I also bought fresh mozzarella cheese that happens to be pre-sliced, and these are great because you can just layer a thick piece of mozzarella inside there, and it helps also keep the layers, and then that way you don't need the lasagna noodle in between the pieces.
Smart.
So we're going to start off with an egg. So we got our pasture-raised organic eggs here, and we'll beat that up, and then we will add to that a 2/3. So this is 1/3 of a cup. So we'll do 2/3 of our ricotta cheese. So it's about okay.
It's about 1/3.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do 1/3. And we have 5 peppers, so this should be just enough. Okay. And then let's do, okay. I think I was a little short there. Put that in. Okay. And then we're going to do about a 1/2 cup of Parmesan. So let me take that out. We're going to do 1/2 cup Parmesan. And then while Liz is doing that, we will cut up our fresh basil. So, I mean, you can use dry basil, but if you can get fresh basil, I like fresh herbs better. When you cut these up, if you layer them all on top of one another, and then you roll the leaves, just makes them easier all cut at once, and then you get a nice chiffonade. Chiffonade, which are nice, long, stringy pieces of basil.
Doing the word of the day,
That could have been the word of the day. Yeah, when the kids.
Here, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the word of the day. All right, I'm gonna chop these up a little finer, and then we're gonna throw that right into our mixture. All right, let's. So we don't need all that. We'll mix that together, and then we will use that as the basis for our peppers. So as soon as the peppers are out of the oven, then we'll be able to stuff them. Okay, so our peppers have roasted in the oven. You can see how nice and soft they got. We let them cool down a little bit because they'll be too hot to handle. So we let them cool for about 5 minutes if they came out of the oven. And now we're going to build our layers. So we're going to start off with some of the ricotta cheese. We just want to put a nice layer along the bottom. Okay. So we'll just push that in there. Okay, and then we will follow that with a piece of fresh mozzarella. We'll push that down, and then some of our meat mixture, right? So we'll put that in there, and I try to get at least 2 layers on here. So might have to go a little thinner this time, but we'll put some more ricotta cheese. Okay, we'll put one more piece of mozzarella, and this is all going to depend on how big your peppers are. And then we'll top this off with some more meat. Okay, that's perfect. All right, and we're just going to repeat that for all 4 peppers. And the other thing that we'll do is, before we put in the oven, we're just going to sprinkle a bunch of Parmesan cheese on the top. And then we're going to bake that. Now, since everything is really cooked, we really just want to bake it through. So probably 15, 20 minutes tops. And then they'll be ready to eat. All right, so our stuffed peppers are out of the oven. They look delicious. Let's give one a try and see how they taste. All right, I'm going to scoop this out with a spoon. It's a little challenging. Ooh, it's very soft. Maybe I should get a spatula. That might be better. All right, let's try a spatula. I want it to completely fall apart, but it almost will anyway. Okay. All right.
Should we cut it in half?
Yep, let's cut it in half.
It's almost starting to break in half on its own. Probably don't need this sharp of a knife, but...
No. All right, and let's, actually let me cut a piece of the pepper and you want a piece of that too.
Thanks.
All right, give that a taste. That's better than last time.
Yeah, that's so good.
That's
So,
delicious.
I mean, it's really like eating a piece of lasagna, but
Right.
you get a little bit of that nice pepper
Yeah.
taste to it.
And
so-
roasting the pepper ahead of time, totally worth the effort.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It's wonderful. I hope you try this out and enjoy this.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Bon appetit.
Yep. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.